Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We kind of have a unique video here as I got an exclusive offer to try out a new MMORPG named CorePunk. Early access releases for this game in a few days, and they were kind enough to sponsor this video for me today and give me an opportunity to share my early thoughts. The developers were also brave enough to allow me to give my honest thoughts about the game as an MMO player, and that's what I have prepared for you today. CorePunk at face value can be described as an MMO with a League of Legends MOBA style combat system and Fortnite's artistic graphic style. I know that's a lot to unpack in one sentence, so we're going to break it down one thing at a time. First up, a lot of people are going to be wondering, is this a sandbox MMO like Black Desert Online, or is it a theme park MMO following more in the footsteps of World of Warcraft? And I am happy to announce it is definitely more like a sandbox MMO. Yes! W for us. The amount I got to play had very little focus on the main story or the cutscene. There is a main story, but I didn't get to dive into it much with my limited testing. I also didn't really feel though that it was going to be essential to the overall gameplay because I was leveling up just fine without it. Instead of a very closely guided main story, they're dropping you into this futuristic themed world filled with things to do, and they kind of just expect you to find your way. There are a few quests that initially guide you and show you the core mechanics, but mainly the game just kind of lets you do what you want, and I really like that. The setting drops you in as an interstellar traveler that has just traveled to a new planet. The technology level and overall theming honestly depends on where you go. Some places have pickup trucks like you might find in Kansas in the United States, and other people have technologies that you might find out of a Star Wars scene or some sci-fi games. Personally, I think this is really cool, and this lends to a wide diversity of terrains and potential weapons when you think about CorePunk's potential scope as a game. It does, however, make me nervous because it's definitely a lot for a game to try to take on. But in the limited gameplay I was able to try so far, I think it did a solid overall job with immersion. There's not too many load screens, and I'll be honest, the few load screens that I did run into, I wasn't upset about, if you know what I mean. And I will say that this is one of the things I really like about the game, is you really never know what you're gonna get. Take this clip, for example. What? Her boobs are out. Wait, what?
Let's go.
So seriously, you really do never know what you're gonna get. And a lot of the NPCs say some really funny stuff too, which is honestly really engaging as an MMO player because most NPCs in the MMOs that I play kind of suck. So it was really a refreshing change of pace to have the NPCs have a little bit of character.
Nobody around here beats my meat but me.
Now, all jokes aside, let's look at the character creator. I only had the option to play between 3 different races, but the game should release with quite a few more, and that can be seen on the select screen here. Each race has class types you can choose from, and each of them is unique, coming with their own passives and abilities. I, of course, chose to be a sexy specimen with a grenade launcher, but I believe the name of the class is actually called the Blast Medic, which is also really cool. So basically my grenades and abilities actually heal or do damage as I throw them, which I thought was pretty badass, but isn't necessarily a new concept as far as MMOs go. Next up, the character creator offers a decent amount of options to customize your character, but it's nothing industry leading in this department. Now, there is a solid array of options for things like hair, face, and clothing color though, and I think it's enough to make your character stand out, which I like, but you're not going to be threading each individual hair on your character like you would in a Black Desert character creator. Now for the important part, the gameplay. What does the gameplay feel like? Well, honestly, this is where the League of Legends MOBA aspect comes in. You're gonna get 4 skills on your Q, W, E, and R, and they unlock as you level up. There's also mastery and talent trees, which I wasn't able to explore because I had limited access. But they unlock as you level up, and then they customize the combat on your character even further. So if you're worried about only having 4 skills, I wouldn't be too worried about it because it gets pretty advanced late game. Now, as I said before, the game kind of drops you in and teaches you the basics with some straightforward quests and then kind of sets you loose. I personally found myself wandering around and meeting NPCs while mingling with other players while I picked up quests. Leveling up and doing side quests for NPCs seemed like the best way to go about it, but it also seemed that you could go out and kind of just grind mobs and level up that way as well. Overall, the gameplay at this point was extremely smooth. I found very few bugs. Even for an alpha access version of the game, I was very impressed with my ability to kite and then the small little animation cancels that I could do with the limited amount of skills that I had there. I could also abuse things like terrain and kite around the terrain and try and put distance between myself and my enemies. And then as I learned my skills, I realized that there was higher and higher skill ceiling for them, so I could teleport to different locations and kite things off. And it honestly kept me fully engaged the entire time I had the game booted up. I was very impressed. For an MMO combat system, this is really good. It certainly feels stronger than pretty much every tab target combat MMO that I've tried so far. As far as action combat goes, it's still really solid, but it really kind of has the feel of a MOBA in this regard and less so an MMO, which I kind of like because I'm a fan of I'm not really a fan of League of Legends, but we play League of Legends, you know, so it's a familiar game style to us, or at least to me as a player. Now, back looking at the leveling process, the quests you run around and receive help introduce you to the game's systems at your own pace. There's no particular order that you can pick up and complete these quests in, but some of them are going to give you recipes that you can do, which introduce you to the crafting system. And oh yeah, the crafting system in this game looks awesome. There are crafting tables with hundreds of recipes, and then there's a ton of different consumables and things that you can go make for other players and sell. So like you could make an entire living creating and crafting things and then basically trading them to other players, which I thought was really cool. It's not every day I've seen an MMO that has that much to do in it. As far as the life skilling systems are concerned, I don't really know. I wasn't able to test if there was fishing necessarily, but there is cooking, but most of it kind of revolves around this crafting system where there's butchery and mysticism and processing and all of these different things that you can do, and they kind of happen from the processing table with materials that you go out into the world and gather. Now, all of these consumables wouldn't really be worth anything if they weren't something that players need, and most of the time players need consumables for PvP. A huge question a lot of MMO players are going to have here, and this goes for my Guild Wars 2, my Black Desert Online, and my Throne and Liberty enjoyers out there is there PvP? Yeah, guys, there's a lot of PvP. In fact, I would say that it looks more PvP focused than anything. A lot of it is the open world. Now, I didn't get to test the PvP because I had limited access in my version of the game, but it looks like there's towns and starting zones where they're going to be safe zones, and those are going to be PvP free, but you will be able to run around in groups and PvP other players in the open world to gather resources. Some areas will also have like a high risk, high reward for PvP as well, which means dying could be costly. There is a small chance you could lose some of the resources in your inventory when dying in PvP, but killing other players also grants you with honor points, which helps you acquire some of the best gear in the game, according to the developers. And of course, there will be a karma system as well to keep players from abusing each other. Let's be honest, open world PvP is kind of a controversial topic for a lot of people. People don't want to be toxically griefed in their game, so we'll see how the open world PvP for this game pans out, but fingers crossed that it ends up being an absolute banger like we're used to for open world PvP, and they just ban the people that are exploiting the system would be great, but don't take the systems away from all the people that love PvP in the first place. Now, as far as instance PvP goes, they have confirmed that there's going to be 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, and 12v12 arenas that you're going to be able to party up and go into with your friends. There's going to be ranked and unranked game modes according to the developers. Now, I'm not sure if all of this is going to be available in early access, but this is what they said that they are preparing to get ready, and they have confirmed it with me. So fingers crossed that they're able to deliver on that. In addition to that, they said they're also working on implementing a capture the flag, control the points, deathmatch, and even a MOBA style PvP mode. Personally, this is the part of the game that excites me the most. Large scale PvP is kind of my forte, and that's what I think is missing here. I'm really hoping that they introduce some large scale PvP here, but if not, I will settle for 12v12 arenas, and I will settle for a lot of open world PvP because I've kind of been hungry for it lately. Let me know in the comments what you think about PvP, guys. Which aspect of the PvP are you most excited about? And then If you're not excited about PvP, why? There's a lot of people that aren't excited for PvP, so let's talk about PvE a little bit here. First, I'll start off with the leveling process. I've talked about it a little bit so far, but I will say it took me about 3 hours to hit level 4, but I was moving at a glacially slow pace, and I was approaching the game in a fun manner, really trying to explore the systems. Realistically, I can see people hitting level 4 in probably under an hour if they were speed running the game, but if you're taking it slow, expect a slower leveling process than most other MMOs that you're going to come across on the market. That being said, it is going to make you go out, explore, and interact with the vibrant world. Basically, every NPC I found seemed to have something to do for me and had custom voice acting, which was really engaging. I really enjoyed the dialogue and the voice acting of the NPCs I interacted with in this game.
Did he say he missed me?
He wasn't hitting on any Outworlders, was he?
This is something you don't see in very many MMOs, is having dialogue like that and NPCs that actually feel engaging, and then a setting where you're walking around and you're like, wait, is that woman naked? What's going on here? Yeah, like it's just, you never know what you're gonna get when it comes to this game. After a while of wandering around and questing by myself, I decided to venture out and find a party. I did find another adventurer pretty quickly to start doing quests with because it is an MMO, and he showed me the cool mount feature of the game. At level 8, you can start riding these mounts around, and if you buy early access, you can actually get some pretty cool custom mounts that you can ride around and show your friends. Leveling in a party seemed to be significantly better than doing it by yourself. Yes, I got lower EXP per mob, but it also meant that I was completing the quests like a lot faster. So it definitely seemed to help speed up the leveling process. And personally, I think that that encourages players to interact with each other, which is a good sign in an MMO. Once I started talking to the other players around me in the game, it seemed that the game's end game loop revolved around doing dungeons, which you would party up and attack together. So if you take the dungeons, and I know that large scale raids have already been talked about and confirmed as well, there should be plenty to do for PvE players. So overall, my impressions of this game are very positive. I think this has potential to be a great MMO, and I never would have thought to take an MMO and combine it with a MOBA's combat system in this way. And I certainly never thought to see Fortnite's art style in here. Now, there are a ton of things I didn't get to explore, like world bosses, talent trees, mastery trees, PvP, dungeons, and the list goes on, and it makes me excited for the game's eventual release. The game's early access actually begins on the 26th, and I'm looking forward to playing it on stream and diving a lot more into it. All right, thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about CorePunk, what excites you about the game, what doesn't excite you about the game. Are you interested in early access? And if you are, make sure you tune in on the 26th because we're absolutely going to be playing it. I'm super excited. As always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.